Hey, and welcome. Hey, and welcome, you guys. Please do all the things before we get started. Like the video, subscribe if you haven't already. Please, 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 please comment down in the comment section. Let me know what you thought of this episode and the season as a whole, because we're about to wrap this thing up. Share this video where you share your videos because sharing is caring. Don't forget to turn on your notifications because, baby, is this time change hitting you the way it's hitting your girl? Okay. And the Cash App and Venmo are there for those who would like to partake. Baby, this is like take number 27, okay? We're here for Married to Medicine, season 11, episode 14, Choosing Sides. I'm going to try to give you a little brief play-by-play and not do this long and drawn out, hit you with the highlights because, like I said, this is take number 27. This episode was dry as toast. It was redundant. And also we're backpedaling, which I was not a fan of. So, I was recording and I had no enthusiasm and I was umming and butting and ohing. So I redid it for y'all, okay? Because I want to give in you the best that I got. They not making it easy, y'all. They're not making it easy. So Dr. Simone goes to visit Dr. Jackie, and I love to see it because I do miss those classic scenes of them having lunch together. That's just like classic Married to Medicine for all of us, OG fans. So, as per usual, they're having some lunch and some dry ass Cheesecake Factory salad because ain't no dressing in sight. And we find out that Phaedra gave her the $40,000 check from the Med Gala, and hallelujah, baby, we could finally put that to bed. Now, Dr. Heavenly said she had came back and gave a $35,000 check, but we won't get into that. It's water under the bridge. Next time, stick to your guns, Dr. Jackie. You said 25K. You let her take you up to 100. We should have met halfway at 50 and we wouldn't have been here. But I digress. Phaedra says she is not coming around because that invite to Apollo was just too much. So then this is where we get into the redundancy as to whether Heavenly has told her or not. I don't really care. She says it was, too much, but it wasn't too much for her to invite him to New York. This is what Dr. Simone is saying. And while I slightly agree, Phaedra says to Dr. Jackie, that's because it was a controlled environment. Yes, because Phaedra likes to play all day. She likes to play games and she don't like you too much in her business. So let me give you what I want to give you, but you're not going to control what you give me. So also she mentioned to Jackie that Apollo gets mad when she's around other men. They have a conversation about that, child. They just want to blame the whole thing on Phaedra when everybody at the end of the day played a hand in this, namely Phaedra and Heavenly. I'm gonna leave it at that and move on because, like I said, one thing I can't stand is to beat a dead horse. But Dr. Jackie says that Phaedra was surface. We can agree, and I'm not looking forward to seeing her on Sweet 16 of Real Housewives of Atlanta. So then they start talking about Greg's charges. And what are these charges? Baby, don't nobody know. Did anybody ever go and look and see if attempted assault was a thing? I could not bring myself to do it. I doubt that it is. Apparently, Dr. G, sent this rap on over to Cecil talking about it was a comic release. Baby, it was good to them. And it was getting a whole good old kiki over, sir. Okay, I got a brand new wife. I got to move on with my life. Sir, I'm trying not to laugh in this microphone all loud in y'all ear, but it's just funny because it's like y'all are divorced. And here we are dropping some beats. I digress. Moseying along, Dr. Heavenly and Dr. Contessa sit down. They meet up at a restaurant to get a little bite. And Dr. Contessa says they've been polite but distant. Contessa wants to move forward because it's getting stale. Thank you, Contessa, because that was my main problem with you when you got on here and you was all up sweet teas behind because it was anti-Heavenly, and then you tried to get the girls to be against Heavenly. When then that didn't work, here we are. Glad to see it. In any event, Dr. Heavenly wants her to admit that they both played a part in it. Contessa, as a box of rocks, y'all, like, what did I do? What part did I play? Contessa, please. Her problem with Heavenly is her calling Dr. Scott abusive. That's not, no, Zoo, 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 zoo. Heavenly says, but you said he was volatile. So it's very tomato. It's given semantics. And I'm going to say this and then I'm going to leave it alone. I kind of err, I'm typically a Dr. Heavenly fan. When it comes to the show, let me make that clear. If it was in real life, this shit would not fly with your girl. But in terms of this show and the shenanigans, I'd be down for Dr. Heavenly, her BS. But what I'm going to say is Dr. Heavenly answered a super chat from a subscriber on her channel, right? She tried to be as diplomatic as possible and answer as honestly as she could. Now, my whole thing is, while yes, typically you would not want your friends to get on YouTube and talk about you, you guys are on a show and you had got on the YouTube yourself and talked about your other castmates. So it was good for the goose, but it was not good for the gander. You could talk about other people, but they can't talk about you. Also, you got on the show for everybody that could watch Bravo and Peacock to see and play this whole situation in front of all of us. That season was particularly hard to watch. Okay, it was triggering and all the things. You was shaking and crying, and baby, we gonna move on. It was just a lot. So Dr. Heavenly says, do we both wish it never happened? Yeah, of course they do. So can we agree to disagree? They say they can. Dr. Contessa says she wants to get to know each other, where they are currently. So they hug it out. We think it's over. It is not. Child, they like to cut these scenes up and give it to us how they want to give it to us. But when we get to later on in the episode, when we get to this doggone diabetes event that we're about to talk about. So, like I said, Contessa is having a diabetes event with the American Diabetes Association, and it's going to be like a local health fair. Now, that's another thing we like to see from Married to Medicine is them to get together and do their medical thing. Okay, I love all things Black excellence, no matter what it is, because when we get together as a group, baby, we can do anything. So she wants everyone to attend, but Dr. Heavenly says that's kind of irresponsible. Dr. Contessa don't like that rhetoric, but she's saying it because given the charges. But Contessa doesn't listen and feels like it should be a bridge for everyone to show up. Pause for the cause. What do y'all think about that? Let your girl know. So Dr. Eugene done broke his doggone toe. The wife and the kids was being irresponsible. They had to have the golf cart towed. The tow truck flatbed fell down his toe. Blah, 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 blah. You supposed to be getting your waltz on, Dr. Eugene, okay? But Toya tells him that she met with T and told T to kind of talk to Greg. We're not going to rehash that whole conversation because Lord knows it make your girl head hurt. So Eugene is saying that G was in his feelings because he feels like they're choosing sides and abandoning them. We also see a flashback of Dr. G kind of being like, "Are y'all King's friends? Like, I don't really like him." And I just, I get where he's going with that, but also you're being quite childish about it. So in the confessional, Dr. Eugene is saying that he thinks to know that T and G should take a beat while Toya feels like they should, face it or get the F on, okay? Basically, but that's their two personalities in a nutshell. We get a scene of Quad and her king, and they're having a little date night, little nosh, little snacks and whatnot, getting in the hot tub. So as they get in the hot tub, the conversation is what's next. We're always around each other. You're always here. I'm always at your place, Are we going to move in together? What are we going to do? He's like, well, I'm not about to move into your place. It's giving ego. I didn't like it very much. But then he kind of cleaned it up. I mean, he did, but he didn't. I mean, the man can't be perfect. The thing that he did say that I liked is, let's get something together. I agree. Get something together. The same way Dr. G should have got a new... Leave it alone, Kira, leave it alone. But Quad says, it's significant to her. So he says, rent it out 50-50 about that because, yeah, I can see that. But people can tear up your place. Also, maybe, the same way Portia over on the Peach, the Peaches, let her mama stay in her place. Maybe that would be a thing that they could do. But, I agree with them getting something together. If they're going to, move forward, get married, have kids, all the things, I think that would be the best choice. But Quad really just doesn't want somebody to hold it over her head. So I do agree with keeping her house. You never said to sell her house. Keep your house. sign the deed together, go halfsies on a baby, all right? Then they start talking about gender roles because Lord knows Dr. G didn't do ish. But looks like King is. Moseying on over to Simone and Cecil go visit these doggone raggedy kids that are still not keeping their place clean. Your girl was triggered because sometimes even when you teach them, sometimes they don't be listening, and now they're in their own space. And I hate to see it. I hate to see it. Girl, we're not talking about your business. And let's just state for the record, I am not talking about my oldest adult child because he would be mortified if y'all thought he was nasty, and he's not. So let's just put that out there. So they're not keeping their place clean, and Dr. Simone threatens for them to move back home, which would be dreadful for her, Cecil, and them kids. Okay, baby, do you want them to come mess up your house? I think not. It was nice of them to let them stay in their place, but not y'all keeping it nasty and not paying no rent. I mean, at this point, boys, just pay somebody to do it. But they were complaining about that. We came in and cleaned it and we charged y'all and y'all didn't want to pay that. So it's giving lazy and broke, but I don't want to be too hard on this lady's kids. So they talk about setting up a new contract, and Simone is like, listen, let me get them pay stubs because y'all like to play in my face, and we're going to use it to pay a percentage of the mortgage. Use a percentage of it to pay the mortgage. I think Cecil was saying 5%. Like I said, I don't want to be too hard on these people's kids because Lord knows sometimes these kids be making you look like they ain't got no home training. But I do think they spoiled their kids. I really, really do. Moseying on along, we finally arrive at the diabetes event. It's a little health fair that they're putting together to provide access to the community, where they have all different types of things available, like the Kidney Foundation. We have Dr. Heavenly, who can talk about dentistry and diabetes and the correlation there. Dr. Jackie and Dr. Simone, where you could talk about where diabetes can give you complications in pregnancies. It just affects the community as a whole. And there's, a bunch of resources they could provide for them. Contessa is also expressing that, it's big in her family. Quad shows up and she's really happy to help. But she also does point out that she's not going to be around the Lunsfords. And this is when Contessa gets to backpedaling, y'all. She's like, we can choose you and T. And in the confessional, Quad is saying the same thing, like, what are we even doing here? And we get a flashback where essentially Contessa pleads to, be there for Quad. And now here we are, backpedaling, pee-popping. They want everyone to be together. And Heavenly's like, not with them charges. And I was like, yeah, I can agree with that. So the voices start escalating because, Contessa, and like I said, that whole little conversation they had earlier, now it's going out the window because Contessa's talking, Heavenly's talking, they're not really getting along. Contessa's telling Heavenly, you had a heart out, you could go. Ooh, yikes. And my whole thing is if Dr. G did not file these charges or not, because nobody really knows for sure, then they would all be around. Then they would coexist. It's really T and G y'all need to be talking to, but now we're all of a sudden putting this back on Quad, and I was confused. I didn't understand. Contessa standing there telling Quad that T and G are on their way. So Quad and Heavenly kind of leave on out. That was the plan all along, I fear. And on the way out, Dr. Heavenly's like, girl, get some help to Contessa. And I don't even know how we got here. They have like a little NFL clinic, if you will, for the guys and the kids. Everybody's doing their part to participate in this event. So the guys are outside and they're talking about Dr. G and King. And Steve says, King is ready to move forward, apologize, and do all the things. King is a stand-up guy. In the car on the way there, even Dr. Damon was saying to Dr. Heavenly that he's like pretty cool, calm, and collected, which I've told y'all a number of times. That's one of the things I appreciate about him. So we get a flashback and it looks like Dr. G, because they're like, well, what does he want? And he's saying he don't know this man, but he knows Quad. So it looks like he wants an apology from Quad, but the man is petty. The whole reason he even filed these charges or called the cops or not, I don't even know if he ever did anything. It's because he's embarrassed. Like, say you're embarrassed without saying you're embarrassed. Say you're petty without saying you're petty. And also this kind of started the ball to get production to have King not film. That's what this was all about. And we're going to see, I guess, more of that next week and I'm gonna be irritated all over again. So the guys want Dr. G uh, uh the guys feel that Dr. G started it, which he indeed did, and that he needs to be responsible for his actions. Ciao. Ciao, 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 ciao. I was saying, what did I miss? I didn't miss nothing. So, like I said, G and T are here. He's outside talking to the guys. Contessa is now talking to Letitia, and she's saying, she wants her to be safe. And so Mimi is like, well, what do you want? Because you never really said. Then we get a flashback, which we didn't see her say this, but it looks like when she was with Toya and Mimi, she said that she was going to choose her marriage over the friend group because they had malicious intent in the past. I can see that, and that's 50-50. It depends. Some people say your friends, some people say your marriage. I tend to believe you should choose your marriage. I'm not married. I'm not going to speak on it. But I get where she was coming from. But also, baby girl, you're in an unhealthy marriage. So it's kind of like, damned if you do, damned if you don't. So Contessa is saying that they kind of need to coexist and that if there's a flub, we're not going to call the police. Amen. T, G, are you listening? So wrapping this whole thing up, I messed up a little bit. Rewind. When I was speaking before, they were talking about Dr. G, not to Dr. G. Letitia and Contessa were talking. So now we're outside with Scott, Curtis, and Steve. And now they are specifically speaking to Dr. G. Sorry, I didn't specify. Just to bring some clarity. Because this video should not even be this long. So Steve is asking him if he's willing to drop the charges to move forward. And he's like, I'm not willing to be disrespected and do nothing about it. He's talking about he don't see a lot of respect from the men, and sir, we don't respect you either. Okay. But the guys can kind of see that he's not taking any responsibility. It's painful to watch. It's a lot of blah, 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 and a lot of back and forth. I'm trying to cut out the fat for y'all. So Steve is saying that the other relationships are being impacted and they're forced to pick a side. So in the confessional, Dr. G says he is not responsible. Child, we know. Responsible, accountable are words that are not in your vocabulary. And then he kind of says to the guys, ex-wife and the new wife situation are not easy. You don't say. You don't say. So the guys agree, and they kind of head inside to check on the women, and that's where the episode ends, y'all. I ain't gonna drag this thing out, okay? Next week is the season finale. I can't get it out fast enough. Praise be to the Lord. Okay. It's Bridgerton or Georgiton or whatever you want to call theme. I'm going to be annoyed, and I'm going to be annoyed. Why? Because we see that Gregory is there. We see Letitia is there, and we see that Quad is there with no king. And Toya is saying something to Quad about, you're asking us to choose sides. Why are we backpedaling? Didn't we just have this conversation? What is it? Episode 14. So episode 13, y'all was with her. Now episode 14, child, I can't take it. I can't take it. Leave your final thoughts and comments down in the comment section. Like I said, what are your thoughts on this episode, this season, my recap? Be nice, y'all. Be nice. Join me back here next week, y'all. They don't work my nerves, y'all. Join me back here next week, y'all. Let me get y'all some traveling music on. Peace.